My name is Keshwani. It is Keshwani, Keshwani. We are here because we want to learn algebra. Today is our lesson number 104. 104. We are in the process of learning. How to solve word problem, the second half of our semester. Let's see what we have for today. Here's the question for today. If x is one factor of n, what is the other? If x is one factor of n, what is the other? Now this question is not same as the question that we did yesterday, the problem that we did yesterday, where the wording was different. You have to pay attention to the wording. Yesterday the question was, if A is one part of B, then what's the other? It is one part of it. Here it is not, x is not one part of n, it is a factor of n. You have to understand what that means. What does it mean to be a factor of something? And the easiest and the simplest way to figure out this problem, as we did yesterday and as all the other problems that we'll do in the beginning, is to simply plug in some numbers. To plug in some numbers so that it converts from an algebra problem to an arithmetic problem, so that we can feel it, we can grasp it. There is nothing to grasp here because algebra is abstract. It's an abstract language and it takes a little getting used to. Let's plug in some numbers so that we can understand it. Let's pretend let's plug in numbers to solve this question. Let's pretend x is, what do you want x to be? X is 5 and n is 60. Let's pretend x is, I said x is and then I put down equal sign because that's what it is. Equal sign is the algebraic way of saying is. In mathematics, equal means is. Let's pretend that x is 5 and n is 60. And let's see what the question reads now. So now, the question reads, if x, which is 5, let's put it in a different color here, x which is 5 and n which is 60. So now the question reads, if 5 is one factor of 60, what is the other? If 5 is one factor of 60, what is the other? Well, how do you paraphrase this question? How do you reword this question? How do you state this question in a little different way? Another way of saying the same question would be, if 5 is one factor of 60, what's the other? What we're being asked here is, what number times 5 will give us 60? What number times 5 will give us 60? Let's pretend that that number is y. Let's pretend that, comma, that number, the number that we're talking about, the other number, is y. The other number is y. In other words, what we're saying is, what number times 5, this what number part here, this what number part is what we're calling y. What number 5 times y times 5 will give us 50. What number, we do not know, we're calling it y, times 5 gives us 60. So what is y equal to? Well, y must equal 60. Well, if you have to divide both sides by 5, divide both sides by 5, and y must equal, well, there you go, y must equal 60 over 5. And what does 60 represent? 60 represents n. 60 represents n. And what does 5 represent here? Where does this 5 come from? 5 is the value we plugged in for x. 5 is the value we plugged in for x. Where did we go? There we go. 5 is one factor. We plugged in 5 for x. 5 is the value we plugged in for x. So this is your x. So here's your answer. If x is one factor of n, what is the other factor? The other factor must be n over x. Why? Why? Because if we were to multiply together the two factors, if we were to multiply the two factors, if we were to multiply the two factors, we better get the whole thing, the n. In other words, x is one factor. The second factor that we found was n over x. If we multiply the two things, what happens? This is just x over 1, so this x cancels out and we get our n. Voila! And that is the difference between this question and the one we did yesterday, because here they are factors. In other words, we need to multiply the two parts in order to get the whole. If one factor, listen carefully, if one factor of 6 is 2, then the other factor is 3, because 2 times 3 gives us 6, which is not the same as asking if one part of 6 is 2, what is the other part? Well, if one part of 6 is 2, the other part has to be 4, which was yesterday's question, day number 103. So compare the two and get used to the language. That's what we are doing right now. Get used to the lingo, get used to the terminology, get used to the language of it, so that when we go down the road into harder problems, we know exactly how mathematicians speak. So here the question was not, if x is one part of n, what is the other? That wasn't the question here. Here the question is, if x is one factor of n, what is the other? The other we found is n over x. Why? Because n over x, right, just like here, n over x times x gives us back the n. 60 over 5 is 12. 12 is another part. The first one was 5, and as you can see, the 5 minus the 12 gives us our 60. What does 5 represent? The 5 is our x. We plugged in 5 for x, so 5 is our x. Where does 12 come from? 12 comes from 60 over 5. See what does 60 represent? 60 is our n. So n over 5, 60 over 5, which is x. There you go. X times n over x must equal n. Voila. If x is one factor of n, the other one must be whatever n is divided by x. Do you understand? That's all. That was the end for today. That was the end of our lesson for today. I will see you tomorrow on day number 105. Okay?